Brian Kelly disclosing during the SEC teleconference that Garrett Dellinger has had surgery on his hand, and he is doubtful to play this weekend.
He had surgery yesterday, and it appears as though it's going to be tight for him to make the game. At first thought we thought we could get him ready, but there was a screw and a plate that needed to go in there. So right now, as we're talking, I would say he's doubtful for Saturday.
What would y'all be doing at left guard then, you think? Who would be in the mix at that spot?
Yeah, so the natural progression for us would be to move Miles Frazier over to left guard.
So first of all, the loss of Dellinger is significant because he had played really well since moving over from center. The second thing is that this busts continuity yet again on the LSU offensive line. I think it's been at most 6 quarters, no, not even 6 quarters, that everybody that you would consider their best 5 at this point has all played together, because remember, they didn't play the whole game against either Southern or New Mexico. So you, with that 5 that you like, okay, with Campbell at left guard, with Dellinger at left tackle, Dellinger at left guard, Turner at center, Frazier at right guard, Frazier/Bradford at right guard because they actually alternated, and Jones at right tackle. You've got probably, I'm going to say 4 quarters, maybe 5. When you cut out the back end of the Southern game, you cut out the back end of the New Mexico game. So it busts continuity yet again. But I do want to say that Miles Frazier has turned into a heck of a utility player for somebody that is a starter. Remember that he came in as a tackle and was moved inside to guard. And, okay, that's easier than moving from guard to tackle, I'll grant you, but it still is something that you have less reps with. Then moving from one side of the line to the other, some linemen handle this very easily. For others, it's a chore. I remember having this conversation with Todd McClure about the 13-year veteran of the Atlanta Falcons when he was with us, about the problems that Andrus Peat had early in his career when the Saints tried to put him on the right side. He is naturally just a left-handed player, which doesn't mean that he throws or writes with his left hand. It's just that's the stance he's comfortable in on that left side. So Frazier moving all around, if he does this well, that's no small thing to have him do that. But again, the continuity, this was the position of concern going into the season. I was referring to it as offensive line 2.0, 3.0, 4.0. They finally had the 5 guys in spots where they wanted, ready to go, and then this happened. So you end up having to juggle multiple pieces. This also will require Anthony Bradford to play the whole game at right guard. You're going to have to, make sure that everything is squared away. And for Bradford, that's not always been a sure thing to be able to get through a whole game. I think he will this time, but I don't know that for sure. If he were to go out for whatever reason, you'd probably have to move Frazier back to the right guard and put Tremont Shorts in at the left guard. The less shuffling, the better, especially going to a Southeastern Conference. Well, it's a Southeastern Conference team that, this is LSU and Auburn, man. And for all of Auburn's problems, it's still Auburn, and it's Auburn's defense. But on to more pleasant things. This team has improved a great deal, and Kelly talked about that.
I just think this is a group of players that are learning to play together. And, we brought in 13, 15 transfers, 15 total transfers. So a huge influx of new players playing true freshmen. That takes time. And so, we've been really coming together both on offense, defense, and special teams and, learning a new system. And, obviously from my perspective, you've got a new head coach with new standards. So all of those things coming together just has taken a little time, and, we're making some progress.
Some variation of that, some paraphrasing of that was said by everybody that covers the LSU football team every single day in August. But it sounds better coming from the coach, right? Okay. I mean, that was the narrative. I would look guilty. I was right there leading the charge. Hey, they turned over the whole building. Rome wasn't built in a day, but it sounds better coming from the coach. So I wanted to let you hear that. Also talked about Jaden Daniels.
Just more comfortable with the offense itself. Remember now, he was in a totally different offensive structure. He was in direct snap. He was in much more of a, pro-style offense. This was a totally different offensive structure for him. So just becoming more comfortable with the offense itself. And I would say, and I used this word the other day, he's become more decisive because he clearly understands the offense much better. And when you're decisive, the ball comes out, you move more efficiently. And really, that's just what we're seeing is we knew the talent was there. We're just seeing a more decisive quarterback.
Mike Denbrock, the offensive coordinator, did one extended media session early in the camp, and he was asked what he wanted out of his quarterbacks. The first thing out of his mouth, as it is for most offensive coordinators, is you have to protect the football. Jaden Daniels has 0 interceptions on the season. 15 quarterbacks in the United States that have started 3 or 4 games have 0 interceptions. He's one of them. Now, when you do that, that one thing at the beginning is don't turn the ball over and then let your natural talent take over and get more comfortable. Yes. Does Daniels look like a better quarterback in week 3 than he did in week 1? I'm going to try to skip over the week 2 and week 4 stuff because, well, the competition wasn't as good. Did he look better against Mississippi State? He sure did to me, especially in the fourth quarter. Finally, the defense. And we made this analogy before, too. Back in 2005, the Bo Pelini defense was struggling through the first 2 games. That first game out at Arizona State. But once the coach got to know the players and the players got to know the coach and they made some personnel changes and schematically they were a little bit more comfortable with what they were doing, Pelini at that time was at the top of his game as a defensive coordinator, and he had a boatload of talent. Certainly, Matt House is a budding star as a defensive coordinator. We've had some real good ones here in Baton Rouge, and he looks like the next in the line. Looks like he's got some things figured out with this defense.
Well, we've gotten, obviously better communication, better tackling. Look, I have great respect for New Mexico, but that was not one of the top offenses that we've seen. And so our expectations were to play really good defense against New Mexico. But the back end of that, the 2 quarters against Mississippi State, if I could comment on those, were played fast, played physical, and really great communication. We lacked a lot of that in our opener, and a lot of that had to do with new players working together, trying to get comfortable with each other, and we didn't tackle very well. And, of course, their quarterback had a lot to do with that as well. But those are kind of the little pieces of why we're playing better defense.
I don't know if this guy took a media class at some point, because he manages to answer the question while intercepting a couple of questions that could come follow up before they get there. It's pretty good when he says, hey, listen, we played pretty good defense, but it's New Mexico. And he said it in such a nice way, such a polite guy. So you talk about the defense, but you don't want to dwell on the New Mexico setting, because then the next thing is, yeah, but it was New Mexico. So he immediately, backs up into what they did against Mississippi State and some of those things. So a lot of positive, stuff out of the first month, and Brian Kelly kind of summarized that. The big news is the injury to Dellinger and what they're going to do with it.